Professionally, I can tell you, my view, I was not in the trial. Remember that, I did not do the trial, it was Mr. Finson. But when I read the transcripts, which were 10 volumes, it was my view that he did not get a fair trial. So we are confident in that, and we will be pursuing that.
Too early now to talk about the funds we had for the council.
Well, the entire bundle, we have to prepare all the bundles. We have to go for leave. That's the first thing. There are constitutional issues, because fair trial is a constitutional issue. So we will basically be arguing that again.
How do you expect that he will be informed of this decision?
Well, we as attorneys, myself and Mr. Finson, will have to contact the correctional institution and speak with the officers in charge there, and then we could ask to speak to him by phone, and they could, just as we did a teleconference a while ago, and then we'll inform him. But media being what it is, I'm sure he knows already.
Thanks very much, guys.
You are so welcome.
If I might ask, QC, there have been concerns about his health.
Yes.
Is there anything that you could say about that in regard to his health condition, and if this is something that you possibly could put forward as if there are actually health concerns?
The only way those health concerns can be used is had retrial been ordered, and then we would have to go back before the court for bail, and certainly that would help us. But we, especially Mr. Finson, follows up his condition, and when he needs to be taken to the hospital, he is taken. It's not that he's being neglected. He can't be treated in the institution, so you will know from time to time he's taken to an appropriate facility to receive whatever attention is needed.
Okay.
Any more questions?
But people just want to understand what exactly this means now for him, because they don't fully understand what that means. What is next?
Well, it basically, the court has said that they are not allowing the appeal. It's a legal term, but basically it means he stays convicted of the offense of murder until any other court says otherwise. So that is why we would go to the Privy Council. As you know, the Privy Council is the highest court that we can appeal to. And it's more or less the same process that we do here. Much more paperwork. And we will have to retain counsel in England, in the UK, Queen's Counsel. We have persons on standby. We have prepared for all of this.
Okay, so if they have denied the appeal, what do you need the extra 7 days for then?
Okay, they have given us 7 days to submit some papers. They give us a reasonable time because they know that there's a COVID shutdown right now and state of emergency. So they have given us sufficient time to get the matters for them. It's basically it, not anything great. And then we will hear from them again as to the sentence for each person separately.
So it is possible that the Court of Appeal will reduce the sentence?
Oh, that's a possibility. I think that is a real possibility.
But where it relates to getting him off completely, you'll have to go to the Privy Council.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
But it means to me, ladies and gentlemen, that the trial, it looks small to you, but to us as legal persons, the fact that they are looking at reducing it is something that inures to our benefit. So we will pursue that with the usual vigor.
Right. But any ideas though? Vybz seem to have been in positive about the possible outcome. Any particular reason why he would have.
Yeah, would have been positive.
Outside. I mean, he seemed almost certain.
Yes. Well, listen. It's like everything in life. You face a situation which can have dire effect, and you remain positive because positive is what carries you through. As I tweeted yesterday, you remain positive because the other options are just not what you...
Not options.
Yeah, they are not options. But frankly, I believe he was emboldened by the level of the representation and the grounds of appeal, because we gave him copies and we still are of the view that they are good grounds.
Yes.
But we don't make those decisions. That's why we are lawyers. We argue until we get what we are satisfied with, and or when we can't argue anymore.
With COVID running rampant, do you have any ideas to say when that process with the Privy Council would even be able to begin?
That's a very, very, very important question. But we have to go to the Court of Appeal here for leave. We just don't go up there. We have to go for leave here. So there's an intermediate stage before we get there. But sometimes it will take a year, thereabout. It's not a quick process.
And that's under regular circumstances?
Yes, under regular circumstances. It's not a quick process. But of course, the UK is under so much stress now, we don't know when the courts will be up.
In a case like this, would you now confirm that it would be best if the Caribbean had their own court so that we wouldn't have to go to the Privy Council?
Oh, why did you ask me that question? I don't believe many people agree with me, and some attorneys certainly don't agree with me. We have had many arguments about this, and it's not because our intellectual level in Jamaica or in the Caribbean is any less than anywhere else. We have brilliant jurists here. And I have read a lot of judgments from the Caribbean Court of Appeal, and I've been kind of shifting my position towards the Caribbean Court of Appeal, Court of Justice. But right now I still am in the arena of matters, criminal matters, going before the Privy Council. We have had experiences there. We have been fully listened to, and one of the most important things is that there has been no bias. The Privy Council, they don't know who Vybz Kartel is. They don't know who Valorinita Roberts is. And frankly, they don't care either. So, to me, our arguments are devoid of any bias.
So you believe you'll get a fair trial at the Privy Council?
I believe we will be listened to. I believe the grounds are substantial. And I believe, most of all, that no justice system can survive if we don't have fair trial. And that is where this team puts their emphasis. I was alarmed at how this trial proceeded, and I believe all accused persons must get a fair trial. If a jury, having heard all the evidence and it being properly put before the jury, and they take the decision, then that's where it rests. But I am not satisfied, and that's my professional view and my personal view.
I think I just answered that question, but let's give one more.
Yes.
I see you keep making reference to your child. Just a particular bad in terms of the unfair trial.
Okay. Luckily, I refreshed my mind last night, my memory last night. There was a lot of text messages taken from phones. And one of the things that the prosecution's evidence revealed, this is not defense witnesses, is that the phone from which these text messages were taken was placed in a locker by the police officer who received it, and that the key for that locker was placed on top of the locker, and that persons would have access to the phone. In addition to that, I believe that there were several days, there was material on the phone on the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, maybe the 13th and the 14th, which indicated that the phone had been used. That is, somebody was handling the phone. Now, in those circumstances, you can delete, you can change context of messages, texts, you can add. So in our view, the phone was compromised because you can manipulate that. And we didn't feel that that should have been left to jury, and the jury should have been made to rely on it. Yes. As is just one of the areas that I believe was important. Also, there was cell site records that indicated that when the witness said he was in a particular place, the cell site information told he was over important. In addition to that, at the time that it is said that this thing occurred, the hospital records show that Mr. Palmer was not in Havendale. So, those are just a few I can remember, but there's a lot of material, including pre-trial publication, negative publications. I think you, the media, might remember that there was some burning down of some digital wires or material, and it was being said that, by the authorities, you should have known better, that it was linked to the case while the case was going on. Those are things that create prejudice and bias, and we believe that those would have impact.
Not have succeeded, particularly because the geopositioning of his phone was outside of the parish of St. Andrew at the time when this alleged incident happened. So we're very, very upset about what has happened. Mr. Campbell went to the police on 3 occasions when he was called. No one came and arrested him. And we felt that that was so consistent with his innocence. But as we say, we'll get the written judgment, but we are on our way to the Privy Council. We have instructed Mr. Campbell to challenge this matter in the Privy Council, and so we will.
Can I ask you, Mr. Samuels, is this a unanimous or majority decision?
Unanimous decision of the Court of Appeal.
How difficult does that make your prospects in the Privy Council?
Well, the unanimous is more, Jamaican Court of Appeal has more unanimous decisions than it has persons who have dissented. About 95% of matters that go to the Privy Council are unanimous. So we are not deterred by that. We still have our success in the Privy Council comes with or without it being unanimous.
On the point of sentencing, I understand from Prince Moore that you have 14 days to make submissions. I thought you'd made submissions within the course of the appeal on sentencing already.
Yes, we did do that, but we were light-hearted with that because we were so optimistic that the appeals would have been allowed.
Oh, right. So has the court expressed its view on your ground as to whether the sentence was manifestly excessive?
No, but the court has said that the judge made an error because the court did not take into consideration the time that the men spent waiting for their trial. And that is now a factor that you must get a discount for the time that you were waiting for the trial, the verdict. And they were waiting some 5 years before the verdict was rendered.
Oh, so at the very least, 5 years would be shaved off the sentence at the very least.
Yes, but that for us is academic until we go to the Privy Council.
Because
we can understand counsel. Right?
Yes, it's really the conviction you want overturned.
That is our target.
I know the men are locked away, but did you get any indication from them as to their thoughts on whichever way the appeal went this morning? And
we took instructions from Sean Campbell, and we said, listen, if your appeal is dismissed, what do you want us to do? He says, unreservedly, Privy Council. So we have those instructions already.
Right. And we're going to link with counsel for Adidja Palmer Vybz Kartel, but do you understand the instructions would be the same?
I don't want to trespass on others.
That's right. You said you were upset. Some words you're using, sad, emotions.
Yeah.
Seems as if you became invested emotionally in the appeal.
Yes, not emotionally. We're looking at the legal position. I mean, if you're doing a case where you're geo-positioned away from the crime scene, you expect to be acquitted, wouldn't you? That's the prosecution's witness. The experts said that the phone was being used in St. Catherine. And Sean is the only person who had his phone.
Yes.
So if it were positioned at the crime scene, it would have meant that he participated. When it is not positioned there, what do we expect, really?
Yes. Is there any point in the delivery of the decision a moment ago where the judges said that they have applied the proviso? So yes, I agree with one or two of your arguments, but we applied the proviso because...
No, it was just ADC appeal dismissed. Nothing further. And then they went on to speak about sentence.
So you don't yet know whether all of your 14 grounds have been unsuccessful or some of them were successful. You don't know.
Right, for the proviso to apply. Not at all, not until we get it. Have you received it? I mean, it should be on the website.
I know. I've checked the website and I've been reloading, and I've not yet seen.
We are supposed to be sent it directly on our emails. It hasn't come as yet.
Yes. Well, as soon as you get it.
I'd like to talk to you when it comes.
Yes, appreciate it.
God bless you and take care.
All the best to you. Prince Moore? Prince Moore?
Yes, I'm here.
So where you are now, is it just Counsel Bert Samuels who is there or are there other counsel?
Well, he's here with Bianca Samuels as well as Isaac Buchanan.
Okay. Two other members of the legal team for Sean Storm.
Yes.
All right. Can I thank you so much, Prince Moore?
You're welcome.
All the best to you. I'm joining now a member of the legal team for Adidja Palmer Vybz Kartel, Valrenita Robertson, Queen's Counsel. Queen's Counsel, welcome to the hotline again.
Yes, thank you, Emily.
Your thoughts on the decision? Your appeal has been dismissed and the convictions stand?
Disappointing, of course. They only found, they clearly are considering sentence, the issue of sentencing. But disappointing to me, Emily. Having regard to the copious submissions made and the sound ground of appeal filed by, in respect of all accused persons.
Mm-hmm. So, do you have instructions as to what to do now?
We are not unprepared. We did discuss this matter. Because we have to be prepared for all eventualities. And I believe that we are going to ask for leave to go to the Privy Council on this matter.
Right. And how long is that process? I know you have 14 days to make your submissions in relation to sentencing. Would the court want to hear you do oral submissions as well on the sentencing?
I am not sure, having regard to the present situation of the COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
We did make those submissions. At least I myself and Tom did make our submissions in relation to sentencing.
Okay.
I have to look back at it to see if there is anything that I can add to it.
Right. You said you're disappointed, and I understand it. Could it be, though, that certainly last evening in one of the posts that you'd put out where you were only asking one favor, which is that the people celebrate 3 feet apart in their homes along with the COVID stipulations. Don't come on the street, turn your yard. Could it be that you were really overly confident in an outcome that you know could go either way?
Emily, I'm never overly confident. Confidence comes at one level for me. And that confidence is based on the grounds that you file and the arguments that you advance. So no, I am always confident because I don't argue aimlessly and I don't argue for argument's sake. When I argue, I believe that I'm arguing substantial ground. So no, I don't think so.
Right. Tell us about the process for appeal to the Privy Council. Would you need to be retaining counsel in the UK?
Yes. Well, first of all, we have to go for leave.
Yes.
There's no guarantee we will get leave.
Yes.
There's no guarantee of anything, either here or in the Privy Council. So we will have to apply for leave. That's a lot of paperwork.
Yes.
And but we're up to the task.
A lot of money too for the clients.
I believe we're up to that task too.
You for cartel?
Well, yes.
Right.
When your liberty is at stake, you put out all effort, and I believe that he will probably get assistance from others too.
Right.
So that's nothing unusual. Anyone who goes to the Privy Council is prepared for that.
Right. And
then now, if you get leave, then you have to retain counsel to argue in
the UK.
In the UK, my concern now is having regard to the state of the United Kingdom with this COVID-19. We don't know when the courts will be up and running. But in any event, it will take a year or more. So we expect that in due course, the situation in the United Kingdom would have cleared up.
Well, we'll watch and see. Are you a little bit heartened with the court seeming to take a point in relation to the sentencing?
Of course. On every cloud there is a silver lining, and that is our silver lining.
Right.
So they will have to consider that, and they have asked for the information, and as usual, we don't know what their decision will be. We don't make those decisions. We just take confidence in our arguments. We will give them what they have asked for, and we will see what the decision is.
Well, have you yet received the written decision?
No, I just sent over to the Court of Appeal for it, but they don't have a hard copy. The registrar is putting the soft copy online as we speak.
Yeah.
So I guess give her another hour.
Yeah.
And it should be up there.
All right.
And then give me some time to read it, and then I'll be able to make some comments.
We keep refreshing for it as well. Can I thank you so much, Queen's Counsel? All the best to you.
Yes, Emily, you're welcome.
Take care. Val Renita Robertson, Queen's Counsel, and one of two Queen's Counsel representing Vybz Kartel, the other being Tom Tavares Finson, who is also the president of the Senate. This is the hotline. So they're right. I don't yet see the decision online, but I think it's going to be a fairly large decision, which will take maybe some amount of scanning to put up. As you will appreciate, the registrar of the Court of Appeal and her workers could not have scanned ahead of time for fear that it would leak out by means unknown. So they're getting it up there at the moment. Robert Fletcher and Oz West Senior Smith, they represented the other appellants, and undoubtedly their views may be the same. We would love to hear from them whether they do have instructions to seek leave to appeal as well to the Privy Council. That is going to be a fairly expensive venture. Fairly expensive. I mean, even to find retainer for an appeal. When you're talking, as I said, a trial that took 65 days, the notes of evidence, which the attorneys, like Valerie Robertson, was not an attorney at the trial. So a lot of the proceedings in the trial would be fairly new to her. You have to sit down and you have to read every single page of the notes of evidence to decide on your grounds of appeal. You have to revisit the law of evidence to see whether errors are made here, and if the errors are made, have they led to substantial miscarriage of justice or unfair trial? Then you have to put your grounds together. Yeah, so it's an awful lot of reading, and when you're an attorney, you do not only have one case that you are defending or prosecuting or appealing at the same time. Sometimes you can be simultaneously handling 20, 25 matters. So you have to make good notes so that when you go back to them, they are relatively fresh, easier. And the easier it is for you is the less it's going to cost the client for the hourly rate that you're billing. But these are high matters, and then I will tell you during the course of the program what the court will look for in determining whether they should grant leave to appeal to the Privy Council, because the Privy Council doesn't automatically open up to every appellant whose case is dismissed in the Court of Appeal. Yeah, it has to involve a point of law that is unsettled, and that, it would benefit the public by having that point of law answered, plus some other things. I'm going to have to pull up the statute and read directly from it for fear that I will mislead at a time when people are overly concerned about what is going on. Yeah. This is the hotline. 3rd of April 2020. Just like the 3rd of April 2014, bad luck for Vybz Kartel. 3rd of April is not his day. He was sentenced 3rd of April 2014 to life imprisonment, 35 years before being eligible for parole. And today, 3rd of April, his appeal to the 3-member panel of the Court of Appeal was dismissed by unanimous decision. Counsel Bert Samuel said a lot of the decisions coming out of the Court of Appeal, they are unanimous. But it is like a body blow to counsel when you get a decision and you don't even have a dissenting judgment. Because when you get the dissenting judgment, especially when it's good, you cling to it for dear life. One of the most beautiful dissenting judgments I read here was the Honorable Mr. Justice Roy Jones, who is no longer in this jurisdiction. And I think it was in relation to the Janice Allen case. It was so strong. Yeah? We haven't had many of those in recent times. In fact, only the other day with the Supreme Court, the letters of immunity case, we had a dissenting judgment. That's at the Constitutional Court level. Because remember, it's 3 judges sit there. And it was good to read a dissenting judgment. Yeah? Because sometimes you just like to have another strong legal view, and you get it in a well thought out dissenting judgment. Because if you're going to disagree with the panel, then you better come good. Even though I don't know that they discuss where they're leaning. Sometimes even when there is unanimous decision, 3 people still right, as happened in the NIDS case. So you had the Honorable Mr. Chief Justice Brian Sykes, who had a massively long decision, and then you had the Honorable Mr. Justice Davis Batts, and then you had the Honorable Miss Justice Lisa Palmer, who also wrote. All 3 wrote because they realized the decision is so crucial and is being watched. We have to look to this Vybz Kartel decision now to see whether all 3 judges of appeal, if they wrote and if they all agree, come to the same conclusion but on different points of law, or they came to the same conclusion on similar points of law. All those things the attorneys will be looking at to pull out their grounds for making the application for leave to appeal to the Privy Council. This is a hotline. We're up on a break. Stay with us.
The following is a public service announcement from Radio Jamaica 94 FM.
There is currently no vaccine to prevent coronavirus disease, COVID-19. The best way to prevent illness is to avoid being exposed to this virus.
It is Friday, April 3rd, 20, and of course we have a late start of the program, understandably so. As you heard, the appeal surrounding Vybz Kartel, it has been rejected, and I think we all know that his legal team, they will have to, get back to the drawing board, so to speak, asking themselves the very obvious question: where was it we went wrong? What was it we had failed to carry through? In order to convince these appellate judges. I've never been a lawyer, but I know quite a number of lawyers, and it is never, ever the best of feeling to lose a case or lose an appeal, or just lose. A lawyer wants to lose. The thing about it, Vybz Kartel is not just your ordinary everyday client, So when a law, and of course high-profile lawyers, take on a case like this, they come out on the wrong end of it. They have to do a lot of introspection. On the other hand, and you just heard Cliff Hughes and Abka Fitzhenley discussing matters surrounding it, and you heard Cliff speaking with the DPP, and I thought she was a little bit well, she always comes across as being very frank, but in this instance I thought that she wanted to raise a glass of wine, but somewhat judiciously. She refused to accept that she was probably in such a state, but she's the consummate professional, so we accept her at her words. Now, I think we can all remember, prior to Kartel's arrest, the sort of social influence he was having on the youngsters in this country. He has been rated as one of the best lyricists, and I suppose I have to accept that. Don't understand all of that. But if others say so, then I accept what they have said, because my knowledge in that area is not enough. One day before Kartel's arrest, and of course you can all remember that there was a rivalry, sometimes not so friendly, between supporters of Mavado and those supporting Vybz Kartel. In other words, it had reached into more than just entertainers sending out their songs on the airwaves and youngsters, saying, all right, I like this one, I don't like one, or I like all of them. It had gone beyond that. Both entertainers had taken a type of a cult following, especially Vybz Kartel. But let me just get back to what I was about to say. I think it was about in 2007, 2000, some youngsters on Mansell Road. They were painting a mural of some entertainers. And some of these entertainers were said to be not exactly in Kartel's camp. Now, let me tell you something. Some supporters, some youngsters, totally misguided. I just don't know where they got it in their heads. They ran down over to where these young men were painting the murals. They just started stabbing them up. And I'm trying to remember if there were any fatalities. But a lot of people got some very awful wounds that day. And then now others would have to, well, we certainly asked ourselves, what would really cause youngsters to be attracted to the particular genre being done by Kartel, that it would require them to see others who did not Kartel to be worthy of being killed, because they came down there with the intention of killing those youngsters. And of course, you'll all remember that it reached to such a stage that it required the unprecedented, absolutely unprecedented calling and Kartel to Jamaica House to have a conversation with then Prime Minister Bruce Golding. That is how far it had gone into this in this country. That an entertainer had social influence in. Had to tell them to cool it down. I wasn't there, so I don't know all the disc that they had. And I would imagine that, well, certainly after such a meeting, some bullet points would have been issued. But I don't think we would be to all of what the Prime Minister spoke about, that the responses that would come in from Mavado and Kartel. A lot of it would be, totally off the record. Understandably so. So that is one of the realities in a country that is floating. Recently I wrote a column and I spoke about the currency being used in Jamaica. Of course, we all know that we use Jamaican money, and we love US money. But the other currency that we can't really hold, you can't pick it up and hold it in your hand. It is indiscipline. And somehow, I believe that when you have many youngsters who are into attaching themselves to somebody who they see as representative. Because as much as I'm no fan of Vybz Kartel, I can well understand youngsters in this country will have seen and would have seen that no one in the political arena has any sort of attraction to them. I believe that they have seen everything in the politics to require them to totally reject the sort of standard leadership in this country. Leadership from the church, leadership from the education system, and just basically leadership from elders in the various communities right across this country. So Vybz Kartel filled that vacuum. And he gave them something to attach themselves to, for better or for worse. I mean, I have been in conversation with some youngsters. And when I mentioned Vybz Kartel, in the way that I would in those conversations, without trying to diss the youth them or anything, I mean, I was talking the other day about this coming up, which was about a year ago. And I issued a particular view into well with a number of the youngsters. And one of them...
Me must have been 8 or 10 boxes of stuff to Linders Road here. Right? I'm going to send a picture. I'm going to put it out because guess what? May I go pack the groceries because most people are working from home, so they put it.